When it comes to NMAT and when it comes to speed-based aptitude tests like SNAP and MAT, etc., it's always good to focus on the concepts.
Main thing in these time-based exam is managing your ego. Do not skip any question because you might miss the easier one, and do not try to satisfy your ego by solving each and every question.
Attempt as many questions as possible because this is a competitive environment, and the more score you gather, the more options open up in terms of B schools.
Going with your strength first to build up confidence, that approach can also work.
These on-screen calculators in these aptitude tests are given as help, but I feel that they're always pseudo help because they end up wasting more of the candidate's time than helping them out.
The books are closed, the mocks are done, and the panic is probably setting in. But here is the reality. The difference between a 200 and a 230 in these last final days is not about learning new concepts. It's about how you manage the clock and your nerves. To break down how to exactly hack the NMAT exam, I have two guests from Great Lakes Gurgaon with me who not just cleared the cutoff but absolutely crushed them. We have Shikhar Jolly and Gaurav Bhagchandani, who are students at Great Lakes Gurgaon who edged past the 230 barrier. Welcome guys, those are some serious number on the board. Okay guys, so we are only a few days away from the NMAT exam. So forget about the long-term strategy, let's talk execution. So first question straight up. NMAT exam allows you to choose the order of your sections, right? So how should one go about it? Should one focus on their strengths first to build confidence, or should they go about tackling their weakness because the mind is fresh at that time? What was your sequence and why?
Sir, I feel that before the NMAT exam, the candidate gets ample amount of time to practice on mocks, and that is where this sequence game comes in. So at my time as well, when I was preparing, I gave a lot of mocks, tried to play with the different permutations and combinations when it came to the sequencing of the sections. I feel that what I could drill down to was, because quant is something that actually is a lot of it is mentally draining. So it's better to keep that section first. That is what I did. Then I kept verbal section in the middle because that gave me a break from numbers, and then I moved on to the logical reasoning section. So that gave me a break from numbers and then gave me some time to have a breather in between the number sections.
Makes sense, fair enough.
Yeah.
And how about you?
Exactly same for me. So quant is something that I consider as my weakness.
Okay.
So my mind was fresh like when I started the exam. So I again introduced myself to the numbers, and I again gave myself a breather of the language skills and then the logical reasoning. So what I believe is that like when you are fresh and like when you are starting the exam, your mind is very fresh, and sometimes maybe not, that may not be the case. So when your mind is not fresh and you're a bit stressed out, so I believe that going with your strength first to build up the confidence, that approach can also work.
Okay. Since you mentioned about going with your strongest part first, right? Let's say quant is the strongest section, and the first three questions that you found were absolute bouncers. You are stuck, right? So how do you go about it? Do you mark and move immediately, or do you let your ego kick in and you would only move when you have finally solved, because that was your strength?
Yeah. So majority of the people do get stuck in the thing. So like main thing in these time-based exam is managing your ego. So like you cannot satisfy, like if you can see that okay, this question is leading you nowhere, like the solution is leading you nowhere, just skip it, because first of all, this is not a exam that's going to be having a negative marking. So that's you can just skip it and just move on. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you handle that specific panic at that time? Because you know that this section was your only strength, right? And then you are stuck in this section itself. So how do you handle that panic?
So, okay, you have to be prepared for these kind of situations beforehand also. Like whenever you're doing mocks, you have to think, okay, if I get stuck in this kind of situation, what would I do? So like you have to be prepared. So personally, my strategy was, I again introduced these kind of situations to me when I was doing mocks. And I told myself, okay, 1 minute, in 1 minute I see this solution is going nowhere, so I'll skip it and I will not waste much time on it.
So language skills in NMAT is a sprint, like 28 minutes and 36 questions, which is less than a minute per question. So how should a student go about it? should they read the passage first or should they read the questions first? What should be the strategy for those precious 30 seconds?
Sir, I feel that it depends on the student's comfort. What I have followed is that I've always read through the RCs first, because that gives you, some detail about what the tone of the passage is, what the tone of the author is, what is the author trying to say. So that gives you a better intent when you're taking the questions. If you have a time crunch, especially in these speed-based exams, I'd suggest that you read the questions first and hunt for those specific keywords in the passage, and then read one line below, above it and one line below it, and try to understand what the author is saying, and then go for the questions.
Okay, so while you're reading through the passage, do you read it thoroughly or do you just skim through it and find keywords?
It's better to skim through those and just try to, understand the tone, and then go for the questions after that.
Okay, and how many questions should one aim for, like from these 36 questions, that these are the minimum number of questions that I will attend or I should attend?
I feel the more the merrier, sir. We can attempt as many questions as possible, because this is a competitive environment, and the more score you gather, the more options open up in terms of B schools going further for you. So it's better that way.
Okay. You have 2 minutes left on the clock and you have a full RC passage which is 4 questions left. So you physically cannot read through it. So how do you go about it? Like, do you make a educated guess strategy, or do you pick all B's and or do you scan through the keywords? How do you go about it?
So I actually faced this kind of situation in NMAT, and so what I did was I read the question and then I eliminated the options which were like clearly opposite. So and after eliminating some of those options, I again went to the RC and searched for the keywords, and then I was very comfortable in finding the answer. Because in NMAT there are not really very hard passages that you have to decode and like interpret and all. So NMAT you're gonna be fine if you do that.
But do you think they somehow understand the strategy and they would place those keywords at wrong places to confuse you?
See, like,
does that happen?
In my case, it did not happen.
Okay.
So this strategy worked through for me, and if you read between the lines and all, you're going to be comfortable. You're going to comfortably finding the answer.
NMAT is heavy on critical reasoning, assumptions, and arguments. Many students treat this as English reading comprehensions and lose accuracy. Give me one strategy for last 48 hours that one should take to fix their accuracy in critical reasoning. What should be that one drill?
Sir, I feel that when it comes to NMAT and when it comes to speed-based aptitude tests like SNAP and MAT, etc., it's always good to focus on the concepts. The topics are a lot easier when it comes to clocks, syllogism, calendars, etc. So what I did was I made a small notebook with all those concepts written down, all those formulas written down, the tricks and tips we had for these topics written down. I constantly revise them, especially 24 to 48 hours before the exam, and I guess that is something everyone can do. If you really want to go through those concepts again, there are a plethora of resources on YouTube as well. You can go through those resources and try and understand how they have solved those questions, and I guess you'll be able to sail through.
Okay, so like how you mentioned, you used to write down those tips.
Yeah.
So towards the end of your preparation, let's say 1 or 2 days are left, do you go through the entire concepts again to go back and see how these used to be done, or are these tips helpful in the last 2 days?
I feel that it's always better to go through those concepts again, because even there are a lot of concepts, especially quant and logical reasoning combined together. So I feel that it's always good to revise them once again.
Okay.
It gives you, it actually comes in your memory before the exam, and when you're actually solving those questions in the exam, it always clicks at that point of time if you've revised it a few hours before the exam, sir.
Okay, so in analytical reasoning like arrangements and puzzles, we often see a set that looks easy but ends up being a time sink. So how does one identify this trap? How does one identify in first 30 seconds that is a red flag that you should not be going ahead with?
Sir, in these aptitude tests, what the thing that I have followed is that usually arrangement sets with 4 by 4 or 5 by 5 matrix, they are usually difficult ones, and all those questions have equal marks.
Okay.
So it's better to always skip those questions if you feel that there is a lot of arrangement, then there is a lot of effort required in those questions, because as such in NMAT there is no negative marking. So even if you mark the incorrect option, it's not going to be a loss.
Okay.
It's always a win-win situation. So you can always go to another question, probably an easier one, and then solve it and get that the marks for that question, rather than wasting your time on a difficult question.
Okay, and for the aspirants watching you right now, what are some low-hanging fruits that are there in especially reasoning? What are some very easy concepts or very easy question types that they should be doing in these last days that would definitely get them marks very easily?
Sir, I feel that clocks is one, calendars is another, and syllogism. These are the three concepts which are asked the most and are on the easier side when it comes to analytical reasoning.
All right, all right. So unlike CAT, NMAT has no negative marking, but it definitely has sectional time cutoffs. So how should one go about it? Let's say I'll give you a scenario. You have 10 questions left and only 5 minutes to go. So how do you solve? How do you guess?
Okay, so in that kind of situation, there are certain rules that you have to follow. Okay, read through every question. Do not skip any question because you might miss the easier one. And do not try to satisfy your ego by solving each and every question. Okay, so you follow a rule that you're not going to be spending a certain amount of more than certain amount of time in each question. And yeah, don't involve yourself in questions that look very calculation intensive, because in those questions certain hints are there which can use to arrive at the answer. Like for example, you can see that like options are very easy to eliminate, and something, if let's say a set is there, so bar chart might be there and something like that might be there. So that are the clues to solve the question, not in a harder way but in an easy way.
Okay.
So you can search for those kind of clues.
But if there are some questions which you have no idea about, so is there some guessing protocol that, because you will not be leaving that question because there's no negative marking.
Yes.
So what is that guessing protocol that if I have to select one of the four, which one would you select and why?
Okay, so in these kind of cases, approximation and unit digit method works the most, because in NMAT you can actually figure out by approximation and unit digit method, but you have to read the question properly. Like you might get in the panic state, but you have to prevent that from happening.
Okay, and can you elaborate a little bit on approximation method and unit digit method?
So, okay, so you have a question, let's say it's a quant question, and you know that answer is somewhere going to be around 20. So in options, I see the options are 30, 40, 21 and 11. So my approximation would be like to choose the answer which is like around, let's say 21, and that would be the answer, because in most cases in math it's like that only.
Okay.
And coming to the unit digit concepts, if you feel that maybe the answer requires a big multiplication, maybe 213 into 414. So you always know 4 into 3s are going to be 12. So the last digit of the number is going to be followed by 2 only. And if there's only one option, you can always mark that option and move ahead. That saves a lot of time in these kind of questions.
Makes sense. So data interpretation in NMAT can be heavily calculation intensive. So is it better to use the on-screen calculator and waste mouse clicks, or should one go about approximation?
Usually, sir, it's better to always use approximations and unit digit concepts like we mentioned earlier as well. It saves a lot of time, because I feel that these calculators given on these on-screen calculators in these aptitude tests are of course given as help, but I feel that they're always pseudo help, because they end up wasting more of the candidate's time than helping them out. So these concepts come in handy in these aptitude tests, sir.
Yeah, so one more thing, like it becomes a trap when you psychologically depend on it. For each and every calculation you are using calculator. So that is not really good in an exam like NMAT, because all the speed based, yeah.
Okay. But are there any specific type of questions where you should definitely use the calculator, because you know that there's no approximation that's going to help in these particular type of questions?
Okay, so again, like I said, in NMAT there are no such kind of hard questions, but there are questions which require you to go through many steps.
Okay.
So if you are confident that you can do it fast, and if you are sure that there are no hints or no clues to hint you at the correct option, so then you can use the calculator, but make sure that you are very fast in the calculations.
All right. Okay, so let's do a rapid fire now. I'm going to throw a situation at you and tell me your reaction to it. Ready?
Yeah.
Cool. Your computer lags for 5 seconds between questions. Do you panic or use that time to breathe?
Time to breathe.
Time to breathe.
You realize you have spent 4 minutes on one quant question. Do you finish it to get the sunk cost back or abandon it immediately?
Abort the mission.
Abort the mission.
Okay. Night before the exam, mock test or movie?
Movie.
Morning of the exam, heavy breakfast or light snack?
Light breakfast powered by caffeine.
Heavy breakfast to get you fulfilled.
Okay. Score pops up on the screen immediately. It's a 208. Retake or apply?
Retake.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, one last question, or probably I would call it an advice to the aspirants. So if you had to give one final sentence of advice to someone sitting in the room right now, feeling like they haven't prepared enough, what would it be?
See, so key to cracking the NMAT exam is to be chill. Even if it's on the day of exam, even if it is on the night before the exam, you have to be chill, and you have to take it a bit light, because NMAT is not as hard as CAT or ZAT for that matter.
We have the aptitude exams approaching, so I feel that it's always good to keep confidence in whatever you've prepared. Keep faith in yourself, be confident, and rock the exam.
Thank you guys. Thank you for your time, and I believe this conversation is very helpful for whoever is watching us, and they would definitely ace the NMAT exam.
Thank you so
much.
Thank you.